the reason we brought you on was because you have certain skills that Jake and I just don't have, and it's been a huge difference maker for us and the company. And that's
That's so sweet. Tell me more.
that's part of it.
No, tell me more. Stop arguing about it.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Barcast that we're just dubbing it now because we have no idea what we're naming this. My name is Brad. This is Christian, and we're talking about networking today on, basically how to do it. Talking about some of our successes and failures so that maybe you can learn from our failures and learn from some of our success as well to help you become a better networker. Because, Christian, I think that it is just one of the most important skills that you can have when either starting a business, looking for that promotion, and really just kind of like getting by in life. If you're just stick to yourself all the time, you don't really open yourself up to like other ideas, that sort of thing. Yeah. So, I guess maybe we should open it up on talking about networking because the running joke between you and I is that obviously we talked about this last podcast about how you were my instructor. For those you don't know, Christian was my instructor back in college, my college days. And, you asked a question in class one day about networking, and I basically blurted out that 90% of networking is I know a guy, and I'll put the picture because I still have the picture of it. Yeah. And he wrote it on the blackboard just to kind of pick on me about it because I had no merit to talking about 90% or whatever it was, but it was pretty funny.
No, it was. Listen, networking to me is the most important. We talked about it in the teaser video, but the fact of the matter is the business world is just competitive. It's more and more competitive. And I know a lot of these people are entrepreneurs, but a lot of you out there are entrepreneurs. But with that said, it's still important to understand we've got the margin, I want to say margin for error, but there should be a word like the differential between entrepreneurs is razor thin, and you may offer the same services as somebody. You may offer, you may have the same sort of background in credentials and credibility, but the reality is that you've got to find different ways to separate yourself, and networking and building a relationship is going to be how you do it.
Yeah, and so like I've always known you as like a really outgoing person. Have you always been like that your entire life?
Absolutely not, actually.
Yeah, I kind of figured.
Yeah, so I was an Army brat, grew up moving around every 3 years. We moved, my father was in the Army, did 2 tours overseas, but I was incredibly shy until actually, I started coming out of my shell freshman year of high school, which is 14 years old, but sports really made the difference. When I started playing football my junior year of high school, I started coming out of my shell, and it gave me a little bit of confidence, and that sort of was a trigger that led me to be a little bit more outgoing.
Yeah, and I was the same way. For me though, I was a little bit different of a path. I didn't do sports or anything like that. I did marching band. Yeah. And same kind of thing though. Like that's kind of like you just get exposure to things, and the more that you do it, everybody thinks that the people who are good at networking are good at it
like naturally.
Yeah, and it really just isn't the case. And I'm still that way now sometimes. I have huge anxiety when I go live every day. So like I go live, if you guys don't know, I go live every single day of the week with the exception of Saturdays because we're here doing this. But every time before I push that live button, I get serious stage fright, and sometimes it'll even take me like a minute or two before I finally push that live button. But it gets easier, but I don't think the anxiety completely goes away. And I think the same could be applied for, networking. And it really, one of the tips that we were talking about was just like talking to strangers. And I don't know what it is about Americans, because like I've been in other countries and like people talk to other people like it's fine. But for whatever reason in America, it's really, and maybe it starts when we're younger because our parents teach us not to talk to strangers.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just a different culture thing in other countries, but like there's always this anxiety with talking to somebody that you don't know. But really what I ended up doing when I worked at T. Rowe Price, I just would strike up a conversation and have lunch with somebody that I didn't know. They were sitting at a table by themselves. I'd just say, hey, what's going on? Do you mind if I...
Did you say, what's up, guys? What's up, guy? I'm Brad. Or was that came later?
I really need to come up with a better slogan.
No, that's your slogan. We're not changing it.
But yeah, I just would sit down and just have a regular conversation. And it was awkward at first.
Yeah.
But the more that more comfortable that I came across, more comfortable they were, and they just opened themselves up. And I was able to meet other people. I sat down and had lunch with like executives that normal people probably wouldn't have gone up to, but I had the courage to do it because I just kept pushing myself to do stuff like that.
Well, and to your point, it's not natural. People think it's natural. You just got to get out of your comfort zone. You got to have the reps, the repetitions, and really flex that muscle, work that muscle out, and you'll get used to it. You'll get better and better. I mean, we're comparing ourselves to our previous self. So, we talked about progress over perfection. Like, am I getting better? So I'm not comparing myself to you. This podcast, for example, like you've been on YouTube for years. Right. Like, I'm not trying to get to your level. I'm just trying to take a next step than the previous podcast and the one before that. So I think just understanding where you want to go, and then the more reps you get, whether it's coffee with somebody, whether it's just going to networking events, you just got to put yourself out there. It will get easier. It may not totally go away like you said, but it will get easier for sure.
Yeah, I guess we probably should, to you, why is it so important? Why is networking so important to you? Because I think that maybe we just kind of skipped over that and just went straight into networking, but why is it so important to network? And really, how does that help you become, a better business owner or a better, employee looking for a promotion, that sort of thing? How does that help?
Man, that's a long-winded answer, but the simple answer is it allows you to compete. Plug on our next podcast, where we talk about, how we compete, and we compete with relationships. We don't employ a cost leadership strategy. We have a certain level of quality we look to bring, but building relationships, like your personality and how you treat someone is the hardest thing to replicate. And so for me, people are going to buy from you because they like you. And especially in my line of work and in your line of work, somebody's going to have to work with me for years potentially. You might want to have a rapport with them and have a relationship with them that they want to work with you day in and day out.
Yeah, and I think that I keep talking about how it helps with promotions and stuff like that, but ultimately, I don't know how many times I got a job because I knew somebody else to get that job. And that's important, and it goes along with getting promoted. I knew that really it was encouraged at my previous employer, when I was working, and the way that you're going to get to certain places, just getting to know that person or getting to know the job that you want. And I think that plays into a lot of that, really. And just when it comes from a business owner standpoint, you're trying to build your business. Finding other people that have skills could help you from hiring that person, help you to hire that person, or maybe just getting you in contact with people that maybe are smarter than you in certain areas. It's no secret you're part of We Trade HQ now, and the reason we brought you on was because you have certain skills that Jake and I just don't have, and it's been a huge difference maker for us and the company. And that's part.
That's so sweet. Tell me more.
Well, that's part of it.
No, tell me more. Stop. No, give me more. No, that's fair. Yeah. I wanted to make a point. I don't know if you remember this, but there was a statistic, I think it was 2015, where they polled employers and new hires, and 63% of new hires were off of referral.
Yeah.
So they knew somebody in the company. So right off the bat, that statistic right there is actually knowing somebody. Right. Now, not to mention somebody you meet or you get a connection in that way, but that, or internal hires, that just means that, I don't want to crush anybody's dreams, but you're probably going to have some sort of connection. And I think we can even talk about how to create that connection, because if you really know you want to work with a company, and you don't have a connection, what do you do? That's kind of where do you go with that? Yeah. If you have this information that says that I probably won't get a job, or I probably won't get that client, because we can exchange it with client if I don't know somebody.
Yeah, and That's a very good. What did you say? It's like 62%.
63%.
Three. That's crazy.
It is.
You know. So, but it still like goes into like of just that power of networking, opening yourself up, giving. You know, I think just it's not even just being able to find good quality work or getting that promotion, but it also just applies other life skills. Being able to have a conversation with somebody is super important, even if you're a boss or if you're like I said, a business owner. Being able to communicate with somebody is everything, and really you start to learn those communication skills from networking, from just striking up a conversation with anybody. Like people give me a hard time all the time because now I just start talking to people at random, but I don't know how many times I do talk to people at random and it leads to other things. Maybe I just make a friend from that person. I go fishing with somebody that I just ran into as he was walking out of a cigar shop. I was walking in and he saw that I had fishing rods. We struck up a conversation. We've been like one of the, and now it's been 3 or 4 years. We just call each other up and we'll go out. And it just, and that's just a simple friend that I made, but it applies to just so many other different aspects in life.
Yeah, and you look at referrals and like relationships and referrals. You know this, like in business, when you start out your company, you're going to get most of your leads from referrals, right? Your network or extensions of your network. And that's going to be the utmost importance to provide fodder for your company as it grows and until it can sustain itself on just, whatever sort of marketing and advertising. But most people don't have the luxury of just throwing money out. You've got to bootstrap it. And that's an effective strategy for bootstrapping your company at the beginning is just your referral network. So if you have strong relationships, that's going to be easier for you. And with my company, 262, I haven't spent in a year, actually 2 years in May, I haven't spent $1 on advertising or marketing. Not one.
Right.
And I'm at a full client book.
Right.
And so I feel fortunate, but by the same token, it's because of the referrals, and it's been continual referrals.
Yeah, I think like word of mouth is a lot stronger of a marketing tool than just cold advertising or just like cold calling, stuff like that. Now I know that like there's successful business models surrounded around like door knocking and stuff like that, but if somebody that they trust is saying, hey, these guys do good work, like they're going to take that person that they trust, a lot more seriously than they would just like some sort of paper ad or whatever. But that's a good point because We Trade HQ hasn't spent any dollars on like Facebook ads or anything like that. We're a 6-figure company.
Yeah.
And it's, pretty amazing to just see how that spreads, and we haven't even really scratched the surface, I don't think.
Yeah, for sure. Sign up for Brad's mentorship. We need to get 200 mentees, right? Yeah. If we sell 200 mentorships, we're going to Vegas. Or you're going to Vegas.
Yeah.
I opened my mouth on that one. A little too wide, but that's all right.
No, so that's all that stuff makes sense. I think I really want for people to give them tangible takeaways and things they can leverage. One thing when we talk about referrals, I think some people might be questioning or be thinking about is how to leverage those relationships. Okay, so, and this is fairly straightforward, and I thought of it from you were saying door to door, a very common door-to-door strategy because you're building an instant relationship and you're trying to get a sale off of that instant relationship, which is very rare to go from cold to close in one interaction. Usually it takes 5 or 6 touch points before somebody actually buys.
Right.
So they're doing something right. So with that said, one common strategy is the Jones effect, right? So they're using, if they get one sale, they'll go to the neighbor and they'll use that person as an example of, oh, I was just with your neighbor, B. Smith, da 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 da. Mm-hmm. He just got our services. I thought you may be interested in it as well. And then that person's going to be like, oh, well, if he did it,
Keep up with the Joneses.
I'm going to keep up with the Joneses. And so the way you can leverage that in business is you can outright just ask people, do you have anybody else that would benefit from my services? Yeah. What I notice, the biggest reason people don't succeed with sales is they just don't ask. They either just don't close or they don't leverage their network properly. And I do also want to talk about this. We don't have to get into it now, but also they don't let they ask too soon. They don't let the business grow. And you put in your teasers, you talked about asking questions. And, one of the big things you wanted to talk about is being genuinely interested in other people. And if you just strike too soon and you haven't built that rapport by becoming interested in them, then you just look like a shady salesperson.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot to that. You got a lot of people that aren't good at selling because no matter, the thing about people is that like it doesn't matter how hard you try to be fake, they still pick it up.
Yeah.
Unless you're just a straight up con artist. But like
a con arse?
Unless
Unless you're a con arse. Don't be a con arse.
it's the same thing. But anyway, unless you've practiced at being fake for so long. But people sniff that out. And so I think that's really kind of what sets successful people apart, or maybe successful salespeople apart to the unsuccessful, because they actually genuinely care about the job and they care about the people that they're selling to. So like, let's just say, even if it's a car, they're car salesmen. I've seen, I used to work in the automotive industry, and so like car salesmen, it's like, if they don't care about that individual and like what it is that they're looking for in a vehicle, then they're never going to close the deal.
Sure.
Understanding like what they're all about, why they're there looking for a car, whatever, like that stuff that shows you that you care. And if you can apply that to like meeting new people, like I think it's going to take you very far. I don't know how many times like I was able to get a job or a promotion because like I picked up on whatever interested that individual I was talking about, that connection. And it wasn't because I was doing it with the intent just to get a job, but like, you start to get to know those people and they actually end up becoming your friends.
Yeah.
I'm sure that you can attest to that too. Like how many friends do you have that you've just
Too
found?
many to count.
Yeah.
I've got too many friends. I've got so many friends. Let's talk about how many friends I have, because it's incredible. You want to talk about relationship builder? Relationship builder. No, I'm just kidding. So all that is true. All that makes sense. I think about from the perspective of you were talking about being interested in other people. I keep thinking about Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and like one of the beginning chapters, I think it's the second chapter, is be genuinely interested in other people. And he talks about how, people can sniff it out. What a lot of my students talk about or my clients talk about, well, what if you aren't genuinely interested in other people?
Right, yeah.
Right?
That's a good point.
Because you're going into it, and are you? Well, my mindset is, I go into every I feel confident of myself as a relationship builder, as a networker, and I go into every conversation with the mindset of, it's not if I'm going to connect with you, it's how, right? And we mentioned it in the previous podcast where it's like, on what level am I going to connect with you? Is it sports? Is it food? Is it travel? And I'm just going down the list and ticking down the list, and it takes thought. And it's not that I'm already interested in you, but if I talk about things that I'm interested in and I do that list, then through that conversation, I'm talking about an interesting topic. If that clicks with somebody, and you'll know when it clicks, then it'll just become a mutual interest, and then you'll become interested in that person.
Yeah.
I think like for me, I always think about, and people always give me a hard time because I've had so many different jobs.
Yeah.
I've had jobs from I worked in the nursing field. I worked as a pharmacy tech. I built unmanned aircraft for the military. I worked on cars. I did all kinds of stuff. But that's allowed me to connect with so many different types of people, especially in the line of work that I do now. Yeah. I work with people that now work in blue collar. I work with people that work, white collar. I work at T. Rowe Price too. So like I work white collar, nurses, doctors, whatever. I can relate to them in some sort of area because I've basically worked it all.
Yep.
And that's the kind of the cool part about working as many jobs as I did, because it took me a while to figure out what exactly I wanted to do. But all the little things that I picked up from each one of those jobs has allowed me and brought me to where I'm at today. And I think it's actually allowed me to become a better networker because of that, and really connect with my audience as well.
So how do you network? Like what ways do you network? Is it typically organic? I know you mentioned that you used to have like coffee meetings with people, get to knows.
Yeah, I used to, I would do that. But it can be just as simple as if you're just out and about, let's just say that you're just chilling, and then you just strike up a conversation with somebody. And I don't know, maybe it just comes so naturally now, but the way that I used to do it, you know, I would just, I don't know. It was this, you know, just a thing where I just had like a lot of anxiety about it, and then was just like, you know, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go for it. And I think that that's where a lot of people run all the way up to the diving board and fail to jump. And then you just got to jump and do it. Because after that, it just becomes easier and easier and easier. And to the point now where, for me, it's just like breathing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just like, I see something or see somebody that maybe we're watching a game at a bar or something like that, like this. And, you know, they're just watching something else that I'm not watching, but then I'll say, hey, you know, whatever, you know, something that has to do maybe with the game that they're interested in or whatever. You just see something, you notice something, and you just start striking up a conversation. The only way you develop that skill is just from practice. You just got to do it.
Yeah. So I have two ideas of what you can do. Well, not you, but you. Two things that help me. One thing that I would suggest is to surround yourself with people who are really good at it, right? And through osmosis, you'll learn. But just put yourself out there. So if you know somebody, you're like, man, I admire how social they are. Just being around them, you'll just naturally start picking up on some stuff. And just seeing their success, you'll realize, okay, I can do this. This is possible.
That's like just surrounding yourself around people who are successful.
Yeah.
You know, the odds of you becoming successful are much greater when you surround yourself around people that are also successful.
Hey, like you, what is it? You are the average of your 5 closest friends?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And probably the same for business?
Whatever the cliche is.
Yeah. So that's one. The second thing I would say is, what was the second thing? It was so good. It was, oh yeah, I remember what it was. God. The second thing is maybe go somewhere where the stakes are really low. Whether it's you're out of town and you don't know anybody, or whether it's in a situation where it's not your field and you just, I'll never see these people again. Absolutely. And just force yourself to fail, right? But today is all about books. So we're going to talk about how to win friends and influence people. Dale Carnegie. I'm about to talk about Robert Kiyosaki, and maybe I'll end with Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi. But Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, is all about failing faster. The more times you fail, the closer you come to success. Right. So fail faster, meet more people, knowing that I'm going to screw up, I'm not going to be good, but I'm going to get incrementally better.
Yeah. I mean, the fail faster, like,
Mantra.
Yeah. I mean, I'm living proof of that. You know, I mean, we've talked about this before. You go back and I'm about to come out with the video about my first videos, but you know, I screwed up a lot, but I just went for it and I did it. And you know, you get a lot of people that saying like your sound quality sucks or what the hell is this? And it's like, okay, well maybe I just need to change it up. You start changing that though. You listen to those people, not too much because you don't want to take everything to heart, but you take that as constructive criticism a lot of times, and you can develop that into a finer craft. And I think I'm getting to the point where I'm much better now than I was then. Not perfect, still fail, but that's just how you go along with everything.
Yeah.
And network is included in that.
Yeah, for sure. I have so let me just bring up the last book recommendation because I think everybody should read it. Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi. And it's basically what he boils it down to is relationship marketing. And he says it's a skill. And he's like, after you read this book, you can consider yourself an expert at relationship marketing. He talks about actually how your brain works and the fight or flight, because that's what it is when you're talking about being afraid. How that works and overcoming specific examples. He goes even deeper, and I want to kind of segue into this. Well, I want to talk about what I see people do with networking and what I believe networking is, but he talks about, the premise of the book is called Never Eat Alone, and basically what he says is any opportunity he has to have a meal somewhere, don't do it by yourself. Right. It's an opportunity to build a relationship, so always eat with somebody else. Yeah. So if I ever come out with a book, it's going to be called Always Eat with Someone Else. And it's going to have the same information. But that idea, that's the, like, I don't want to say it's the foundation of which my philosophy is built, but it reinforced everything I thought about relationships and how it is a skill that can lead to sales.
Yeah, well, and it leads to so many other things.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't just lead to a sale, at least in my experience, and I know that in yours too, you know, and we're going off a little bit, but I still think it applies. The relationships that I've built with the people that are within my own mentorship, the people that are within We Trade HQ, they don't leave.
Yeah.
You know, we have a small amount of people that leave as far as attrition is concerned, and it's like, it's because people feel like they belong where we're at, and it's all due to the relationship that we've created and we've built within We Trade HQ. There's so many people that come out and they say, you know, it really does feel like a family that, you know, we're involved in, because I think that we try to make sure that we actually care about people. You know, something's going on in their life, they have a life event. We always try to make sure that we're remembering them, you know, and acknowledging that, hey, they had a life event or whatever they had going on. And I think that that's really ultimately what keeps them there. It's not just about making a sale. It's about, you know, reinforcing and supporting, you know, that customer base.
I think most people view networking as, let's take a traditional networking event. You meet somebody, and within 3 minutes, hey, can I get your card? Or hey, can I, I need something. They lead with their needs. That is like the worst mistake. And I'll take it kind of a step further, is maybe they get a card. Hey, can I get your card? They haven't really provided any value. They haven't really gotten to know them. It's literally just shake your hand, give me your card. Low leverage and really embarrassing. Like, I just think it shows no skill and no soft skills. So that drives me crazy. So that's common. And then the other thing I see that's very, very common is they follow up in an email, again, asking for something. That's what it's done. That's the way I see it most commonly done with younger business people, younger networkers. I'm going to pause there. What do you think?
There's like a, you know, especially with younger entrepreneurs, and the ease of being able to become an entrepreneur at such a young age has never been easier. But I think with that there's a certain lack of patience that younger people have. And to your point, that's probably why that happens quite often.
Okay, so anybody that is doing that, can we agree we should stop? Yeah. Stop it now, stop. So let me tell you what you should do. You ready for this nugget? I'm dropping knowledge here. So if you don't remember anything else, provide value. Provide value, and we don't have to overdo it, right? And like, just provide one piece of value. This goes with your tip on taking notes. So we get information. Don't ask for anything. Don't ask for anything within the first interaction, the follow-up, or the third. Like, just don't. Build that relationship with that person. You can provide value either the first time, which I don't even think you need to. I think you need to get a couple pieces of information so you know that person. And then when you follow up, and everybody follow up, typically within 24 hours, no more than 48 hours, follow up with a thank you, a reminder so they know who you are. Yeah, we talked about, you know, how I was a Jets fan and you like the Patriots and whatever. Yeah. So give some details so they remember who you are, and then stop. Okay, so you stop, wait a little bit of time, and then you follow up again, giving them something that shows that you've thought about them and that you were thinking about, that you took in the information you gave them. So easy thing is an article like, hey, I saw this article, thought about you, thought you'd be really interested in it. Or, you know, even just like, Tom Brady, man, wins again. You got this one. Right. Those little things, that takes a minute, 2 minutes to write, but it provides tremendous value. And then once you have that relationship, let's get back together. It should take you maybe 6 or 7 interactions or touch points before you even ask for anything. My hunch is that most likely they'll offer something from you before you even have to ask.
Yep. Just go for it. There's really nothing to be afraid of. I know that it can be anxiety ridden, and I know there's a lot of people that like have this fear of, you know, rejection, whatever. But the thing of it is that you just have to let that roll off your shoulder and just move on. So just go for it. Don't be afraid to take that leap. and I promise you, you'll come out on top for it. So that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Christian, and thank you, the horse you came in on, the bar that we are here at. You guys are used to seeing us at Barcast. We decided to shift this one around. I like this one a little bit.
I like this vibe.
It's a little bit quieter. So if you guys like this, please give it a thumbs up. I certainly would appreciate it. And subscribe to this channel if you want to see more quality content like this. And leave us some comments. If you want to see more stuff like this, let us know. If you want to see some different topics, if there's something that you're dying to ask us, let us know, because then we'll put it out on another video and give you more content that you're actually looking for. So that's it for me. Thanks again. As always, I will see you all before the bell, and B. Smith is out.